you swing it slow. Somebody once told you that means you need a firmer shaft to keep the ball from leaking left. That single piece of advice has quietly stolen yards from you for years. I know. I believed it too. I stood on a launch monitor at 61 years old, staring at a ball speed number I could not explain. It was lower than a buddy of mine who is 9 years older than me. The reason wasn't my age. It wasn't my back. It was sitting right there in my hands. Here is the truth I wish someone had handed me a decade ago. The slower your swing, the more the golf industry has been able to sell you things that actively work against you. And there is one number, 38 versus 90, that flips the whole game for a slower swing. Best part is, it works with the clubs already in your bag today. You don't have to buy a thing. Let me take you back to the moment it cracked open for me. I was on that launch monitor because I had just spent $450 on a brand new driver. Big name, the one every commercial swore would give me 15 more yards. I brought my old gamer along too, a driver that was already 6 years old at the time, and when the fitter put both side by side, the new one gave me exactly 4 yards. Not 15, 4 yards for $450. I remember laughing, but it wasn't a happy laugh because I had done this before. I had done it almost every single year. New driver, new irons, chasing a number that never showed up. And that afternoon, the fitter, a younger guy who clearly wasn't supposed to say what he said, leaned in and told me something quiet. He said the driver head was never my problem. He said my swing speed was 82 miles an hour and almost nothing in my bag was actually built for 82 miles an hour. That was the first thread. And once I pulled it, the whole sweater came apart. Because here's what I didn't understand back then. A driver head, the part they spend millions marketing to you, has barely changed in real performance for years. The rules cap how fast a face can launch a ball. That limit has existed since 2008. The spring in the face, what they call the coefficient of restitution, is legally frozen. So when a company tells you this year's head is longer than last year's, they are selling you a number that physically cannot keep growing. The head hit its ceiling before some of your grandkids were born. Therefore, the real distance for a slower swing was never hiding in the head. It was hiding in the parts nobody puts on the billboard: the shaft, the loft, and the ball. 3 things that cost a fraction of a new driver and change everything. But I didn't know that yet. I only knew 4 yards had just cost me $450, and I wanted to understand why. So let me tell you about the shaft, because this is where I got genuinely angry. For most of my golfing life, I played a stiff shaft. Why? Because when I was in my 40s, stiff felt right, and because somewhere along the way, I absorbed the idea that a firmer shaft meant control and a softer shaft meant you were a weak player. There's an ego attached to that little letter stamped near the grip. Nobody wants the shaft that says senior on it. Nobody wants the one that says A-flex, which stands for amateur, or worse, the L that everybody quietly reads as ladies. So millions of us over 50 keep swinging stiff shafts out of pride, and we pay for that pride every single round. Here is what the fitter showed me that day. My swing speed was 82 miles an hour. The stiff shaft in my hands was engineered to load and unload properly at somewhere north of 95, closer to 100 miles an hour, which means I was never actually flexing the shaft. I was swinging a fence post. The tip wasn't kicking through impact. The face wasn't squaring up on its own. All that stored energy a shaft is supposed to release into the ball, I wasn't creating any of it. When he handed me the exact same driver head with a regular flex, lighter weight shaft, my ball speed jumped 6 miles an hour. 6. On the same swing, same body, same tired 61-year-old spine. That translated to about 11 yards a carry. 11 yards just from a piece of graphite that costs a fraction of what they charge for the head everybody obsesses over, and the weight mattered even more than the flex. My old shaft weighed about 70 grams. The one he put me in weighed around 55. 15 grams sounds like nothing, about half the weight of 5 quarters in your pocket. But over the length of a driver, swung at speed, that lighter shaft let me swing faster with less effort. My tempo smoothed out. The club felt like it wanted to move. For years, I'd been fighting my own equipment, muscling a heavy, stiff shaft, and blaming my age for the result. So here's your first piece of truth you can act on. If you are over 50 and you have never checked the flex and weight of your driver shaft, there is a very good chance you are playing something too stiff and too heavy for the swing you have today. Not the swing you had at 45, the swing you have now. And regripping or reshafting your existing driver into the right flex costs a tiny fraction of a new club, but knowing the shaft was wrong opened a bigger, uglier question. If a fitter could see my swing speed in 10 seconds and know my shaft was wrong, why had every store, every salesman, every glossy ad let me walk out year after year with the wrong one in my hands? That is when I stopped believing this was an accident. Because think about it with me. A driver shaft upgrade costs them almost nothing to offer. Swapping you into the correct flex would make you happier, make you hit it farther, make you trust the brand. So why isn't that the headline? Why is the headline always a brand new $400 head and never a $40 shaft that would actually help you more? The answer is that the shaft doesn't have a marketing budget. There's no billboard money in telling a 65-year-old he doesn't need a new driver. He needs a lighter shaft in the one he owns. The whole machine is built to sell you the expensive thing you don't need and stay quiet about the cheap thing you do. And the slower your swing, the more they count on you not knowing the difference. I want you to sit with a number. The average driver on the shelf comes with what they call a stock shaft. For most major brands, that stock shaft, especially in stiff, is genuinely too much club for a swing under about 85 miles an hour. And the tour average swing speed, the guys these clubs are marketed around, is over 113 miles an hour. You are being sold equipment designed and demonstrated by men swinging 30 miles an hour faster than you. Of course, it doesn't work the way the ad promised. It was never built for your speed. Therefore, the club is only half the betrayal. The other half was sitting in my golf bag in a sleeve of the most expensive balls money can buy. And this is the one that stung the most, because I had been proud of it. Let me flash back to the pro shop maybe 8 years ago. I walked in and bought a dozen premium tour balls. The same model the best player in the world was playing on television that Sunday. $40-something for 12 golf balls, and I felt like a real player carrying them. That was the point. That was what I was paying for. The feeling that I was playing the same equipment as the pros. Here's what nobody told me. That premium tour ball is built with a firm, high compression core. Compression is just a measure of how much the ball squishes when you strike it. A premium tour ball sits around 90 on the compression scale. To actually compress that ball, to squeeze it and get the energy transfer that creates distance, you need real club head speed, the kind of speed those tour players have, over 100 miles an hour, easily. I swing 82. I was never compressing that ball, not even close. It was like dropping a bowling ball on a concrete floor and expecting it to bounce. All that engineering built into the core, the stuff I was paying a premium for, required a swing speed I do not have and will never have again. I was buying performance I physically could not access. Now here is the 38 versus 90 I promised you at the very start. There's a whole category of golf balls built with a low compression core right around 38 on that same scale. Callaway makes one, Titleist makes one, Wilson makes one that sits even lower, around the mid-30s. These balls are engineered so that a slower swing, an 80-mile-an-hour swing, a 75-mile-an-hour swing, actually squeezes them at impact. You compress it, you get the energy transfer, you get the launch, and when a slower swing plays that low compression ball instead of the firm tour ball, the independent robot testing and the launch monitor data tell the same story again and again. More ball speed, higher launch, and crucially, less spin off the driver, which for a slower swing is exactly what you want because too much spin balloons the ball into the sky and drops it short. The lower compression ball flies farther for you, not because it's a magic ball, but because it's finally a ball built for your actual speed. I want to be honest about the size of this. For a swing in the low 80s and below, we are talking about real yardage, several yards of carry, sometimes more, purely from switching to a ball that matches your speed. And the low compression ball frequently costs less than the premium tour ball, sometimes $20 a dozen less, so you get more distance and you spend less money. Read that again. More distance, less money. That is the exact opposite of what the entire industry trained you to believe. For years, I paid extra to play a ball that costs me distance. Ah, that is the sentence that kept me up at night when I finally understood it. I paid a premium to hit it shorter, and I did it proudly because a marketing campaign convinced me that the ball the pros played must be the best ball for everybody. It is not. It is the best ball for a swing that moves 30 miles an hour faster than mine. But maybe you're sitting there thinking that all of this is fine for the guy who's ready to go spend money on new shafts and new balls, and that none of it helps you because you like your clubs. They're paid for, and you're not about to run out and rebuy your bag. I hear you. And this next part is specifically for you because the best fix I found doesn't cost a single dollar and works with the exact driver you already own. So before I hand you the last 3 free fixes, let me stop for one honest second, because everything you just learned about that stiff shaft and that firm ball points to a bigger problem hiding in your irons too. Think about that fitter reading your swing speed in 10 seconds and knowing your shaft was wrong. Now picture that same blind spot sitting across your whole iron set, club after club, every round you play, and nobody in the shop saying a word. That is exactly why I put everything I learned into the Iron Clarity Complete set, an instant download you can open on your couch tonight. Iron Decoded hands you ball flight diagnosis so you can read every miss and fix it at the source instead of guessing. The loft deception section shows you how loft creep hid in plain sight for years, so your so-called 7-iron finally makes sense. And the set composition and gapping blueprint maps out your exact iron family so you know precisely where your game lives. Here's a check you can run for free tonight. No launch monitor needed. Line up your 7-iron next to your neighbor's older set and lay a protractor on the faces, or just look up the stated loft of each. Watch how today's 7-iron is bent stronger than an old 5-iron, and you'll see the loft deception with your own eyes. The fastest way to get the books is to scan the QR code right there on your screen, or go to the link in the description or the pinned comment. And here's the honest reason to look now, not someday. The wrong irons are costing you strokes on every single round you're already playing, so the sooner you know, the sooner that stops. Now let me show you what a lighter shaft, a softer ball, and the right loft did together, because that number is the biggest jump on this whole list. All right, back to squeezing every free yard out of the driver already sitting in your garage. Go look at the bottom of your driver head. Almost every driver made in the last decade has an adjustable hosel, a little wrench setting where the head meets the shaft. Most golfers set it once, if ever, and never touch it again. That little wrench lets you add loft, and loft is the single most underrated free yardage a slower swing has available. Here's why. When you swing slower, you don't generate enough spin and enough launch angle to carry the ball its full potential distance. The ball comes off too low, lands too early, and rolls out on a low line instead of carrying through the air. For years, the ego move was to play less loft, 9 degrees, 9.5, because low loft looked like a strong player's setting. But a slow swing needs the opposite. A slow swing needs more loft to get the ball up and carrying. So take that wrench and add loft. If you're playing 9.5, click it up to 10.5 or 11. If your driver only goes to a certain number, max it out. The higher launch will carry the ball farther through the air, and for a swing under 90 miles an hour, carry is everything because you're not getting much help from roll on most courses. I've watched golfers add several yards with nothing but a wrench they already owned and a setting they were afraid to touch because it didn't look cool. While you've got that wrench out, there's a second free fix. Your tee height. A slower swing wants to hit up on the ball, catching it slightly on the upswing to launch it high with low spin. You cannot do that if the ball is teed low. Tee it higher. You want about half the ball sitting above the crown of your driver at address. Then make a conscious effort to sweep up through it. Higher tee, higher launch, more carry. It costs nothing. It's just a wooden tee pushed a little deeper into the ground and a small change in where you position the ball in your stance, a touch more forward off your lead heel. And one more, because this whole section is about squeezing everything out of the clubs you already have. Grip your driver a half-inch shorter, choke down slightly. It sounds backwards. Giving up length sounds like giving up distance. But for a lot of slower swings, choking down improves center contact dramatically, and center contact matters more than swing speed for actual distance. A ball struck dead center at 80 miles an hour flies farther than a ball struck off the toe at 85. Solid contact is free yardage, and choking down buys you solid contact. So there it is. Add loft with a wrench, tee it higher, and sweep up. Choke down for center strikes. 3 adjustments, $0, all on the driver sitting in your garage right now. Most golfers over 50 will pick up several yards from those 3 alone, and they'll do it this weekend without spending a cent. But even after I fixed the shaft and switched the ball and adjusted the loft, there was one more thing. One last piece the fitter mentioned almost as an afterthought as I was packing up, and it turned out to be the biggest lie of them all. This is the one I really want you to hear, because it's the thing the industry works hardest to keep you from figuring out. He told me to be careful about something the moment I walked out the door. He said, in a couple of years, they're going to tell you your driver is illegal or obsolete or out of date, and he said it won't be true. Here's what I mean, and here's where the data comes in that I could not shake. I mentioned earlier that the spring in a driver face is legally capped and has been since 2008. That coefficient of restitution limit means no company can legally make a face that launches the ball faster than the face they made over 15 years ago. So when independent testers, the folks with robots and launch monitors who don't take money from the brands, put a driver from 10 or 12 years ago head-to-head against this year's shiny new release, using the same shaft and the same ball, the distance difference is often a yard or two. Sometimes 0. Sometimes the old one wins. Let that land. A driver from over a decade ago, hitting the same ball with the same shaft, goes essentially the same distance as the model they're charging you $500 for today. The head hasn't gotten longer because it legally cannot. What's changed is the paint, the name, the sound at impact, and the story. You're not buying distance. You're buying this year's story. So where did all my lost yards actually come from over the years? Not from an old driver head. They came from a shaft too stiff and too heavy for my speed, from a ball too firm for me to compress, from a loft set too low out of pride. Every one of those is fixable for under $100 total, and 2 of the 3 are free. The $450 head I kept chasing was the one thing that was never the problem. Here is the discovery that finally set me free, and it came straight out of the independent robot testing that the golf brands would rather you never read. When they take a slower swing speed, around 85 miles an hour, and they optimize just 3 variables, the right lighter and softer shaft, the right lower compression ball, and the right higher loft, the total distance gain stacks up to well over 20 yards compared to that same slow swinger playing a stiff shaft, a firm tour ball, and low loft, over 20 yards. And the equipment to get there costs less, not more, than what most of us are already playing. 20 plus yards is not 4 yards from a new head. 20 plus yards is the difference between reaching that par 4 green in 2 or laying up short every time. It's the difference between hitting a mid-iron into a green and hitting a hybrid you can't stop. It is the single biggest jump available to a golfer over 50, and it was buried under 15 years of advertising telling you to look at the wrong part of the club. The truth was always there. The compression numbers were printed. The face limit was in the rule book since 2008. The robot tests were published. It was all sitting in plain sight. It just never made it into the commercial because there's no money in telling you the club you own is fine and the ball you need is cheaper. One honest fitter said the quiet part out loud to me on a Tuesday afternoon, and I've spent every round since making sure other golfers hear it too. So here's the whole thing in one breath. You were never too old to hit it far. You were just handed equipment built for someone else's swing and charged extra for the privilege. If that lands the way it landed on me, then you're exactly the kind of golfer this is for, the one who's done being sold the story and wants the truth he can feel on the course. You want results, not a receipt. Now I want to hear from you. Go check the flex stamped on your driver shaft and check your ball's compression and tell me in the comments what you found. Are you a slow swing golfer who's been playing a stiff shaft and a firm tour ball this whole time? Say so. I read them, and there are thousands of golfers in the same boat who need to see they're not alone. Drop a comment right now with your swing speed and what's in your bag. And if you're the kind of player who's tired of paying more to play worse, stick with this crew because we pull back the curtain on this stuff every single week. No brand telling us what to say. Next time, I'm going to show you the truth about hybrids and why the long iron they keep selling seniors might be the most useless club in your entire bag. There's a free guide waiting for you too that lays out the exact ball and shaft numbers for every swing speed so you never overpay for lost distance again. Go grab it, make those 3 free adjustments this weekend, and go find the yards that were yours the whole time. Let me level with you one more time. This video gave you the overview, but inside the Honest Fairway Club, I take you all the way through the slower swing setup we just started. In there, you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You're not doing this alone. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen and cancel anytime with one click. Now that you know the truth, let me help you pick the right ball. In the video starting right here, I'll show you which golf balls give slower swings, more distance, and easier carry. Let's take a look together.